In this video I'm going to be covering the Yuneec Q500 Typhoon, and we'll be covering the setting up and the preparing for flight. I'll also cover the basic flight modes of this model as well. First of all, I'm going to spare you another unboxing video. So I've already unboxed it for you, so I'm just going to quickly go through the contents. Of course, first of all, you get the Yuneec Q500 multi-rotor. You get the controller, which has a built-in LCD display, so there's no need for separate screens or tablets or smartphones to view your video on. They come complete with two battery packs. You get two full sets of props. I've only got one set of props on the table just now, but you do get a full second set as well. You get a sunscreen for sticking on the front of the monitor, just if there's bright light. You have your charger, which comes with a mains adapter, but you also get the 12-volt charge cable with it as well, so you can charge when you're actually out and about. You get various charge leads adapters, and you also get a microSD card adapter, and it does come complete with an 8 gig card as well. You also get various manuals as well, so you've got your quick start guide, you've also got warning ones, etc. So certainly all worth giving it a read. You've got all your light indicators on the back of that one as well. It also explains about things like compass calibration, etc. So certainly all worth a read. And as I say, with all my how-to videos, this is not instead of the instructions. You should always, if it's a downloadable manual, download it, or if it's a paper manual, then certainly give it a read before you attempt to fly it. So the first thing we're going to do is charge up the Typhoon's battery. So the first thing you need to do is get your mains power supply out. Now you can either charge it from the mains, or you do have your 12-volt cigar lighter connector. So you're either going to plug using the little jack socket in the side, and you can plug either, as I say, the mains one in, or you can use that one if you're out in the field. Next thing you need to do is you get the adapter, which comes included in the kit. That simply plugs, you can either do it either way. You can either plug it into the charger first, through the wee connection in the front there, and then into the battery itself. So you see the connection on the battery, it's a polarized connection, so you can't get it in the wrong way around. And that just plugs into there, get the right way around. And then you'll see on the front, the lights there, is quite a simple charging code. So you've got basically green blinking light, it would be ready to charge. Red blinking light, it's charging. If you've got red and green blinking lights, it means the battery's balancing itself. What that is inside these batteries, they're actually made up from 3 separate cells, and the charger actually balances each cell individually. So if you're getting the green blinking, it's green and red blinking, it's not a problem, it's just that the pack's balancing itself. And eventually, if you've got a solid green light, it means the charger is complete. Now, there is one error one at the bottom there. It says solid red light is an error. What that can sometimes mean, if the battery has got out of balance so much that the charger can't rebalance it, or perhaps if you run the battery very low. It's important with lithium polymer batteries, you do not run them too low. If you run them really low, what will happen is the voltage is so low, the charger won't recognize there's a battery there, you'll get an error, or it just simply won't charge. So it's important you don't generally run your batteries below. Generally between 20 and 30% is not a good idea. Also, as well, as far as storing your batteries, you should never store them fully charged. You should store them generally between 50 and 60% charge if you're going to be storing them from, say, longer than about a couple of weeks. So even if it means just plugging the battery in, turning the model on, and just allowing the battery sort of part discharge itself is a very good idea. Otherwise the battery will puff up inside the casing, and that's the end of the battery. Now we've got our battery and the transmitter charged up, we can install the battery. Now before you put the battery in, what I want you to do is you need to check inside your battery door. If you basically open the door and then have a look inside, you'll see here, now this is probably just mine, but it might be worth checking on yours as well. If you look down the battery door, you'll see a cable hanging in where it actually shouldn't be. Now if you tried to slide your battery in, it would be quite tight, and it would probably cut or damage those cables. So if there are cables hanging into your battery compartment like mine was, it's worth I just used one of the propellers and just poked them up out the way, and then it was fine. So the first thing you need to do is just basically slide the battery into the battery door and just put it all the way down until it kind of clicks in at the very end, and then you can just shut your battery door, and that is now the model all powered. Now before we switch the model on, it has a gimbal protector, as you can see here. Now when you get them out of the box, there is tape around this to basically tell you that you need to remove it before you power it up, and that just simply slides off. It's just like a sort of gimbal guard, stops the gimbal all flopping around before you actually use it. Now with the Yuneec Q500, it's important that you turn things on in the correct order. You must turn the transmitter on first and off last, so you know you don't have the scenario where the model will be powered up and the transmitter won't. So always power up your transmitter first. Now there's a little bit of a startup procedure on the transmitter. It wants to do an awful lot of beeping before it actually starts. Now before we power the model on for the first time, you'll need to install the SD card. It comes complete with an 8 gig card. You do need a minimum of a 4, but of course if you're going to be shooting in 4K, you're going to need a lot more. Now the SD card, it's a little bit fidgety to go in, so the pattern goes towards the writing goes towards the back of the gimbal, but I don't know if you can see this. The gimbal, the SD slot is not straight down, it actually slopes to the back. So if you put it in, I don't know if you can see that, it's actually sitting at an angle, and then just push it home. There we go, and you hear it clicking in, and that's that loaded. And then we can now turn over and we can power it on. Now, if I just flip that back over, to turn on, that is the switch there to turn on. Now I'm not going to switch on upside down, because when the model powers up, it's important that the model is flat and not moving when it powers up. So I'm just going to basically flick this back over. Now first of all, with the Typhoon, you never have the model on when the transmitter is not. So transmitter on first and off last, that is important. So we just turn the transmitter on. Now it takes a little bit of time to actually boot up, but you do get a little musical tune once it's actually powered on properly. There we go. And then we can turn the model on just via that switch at the back. Now see all the lights flash up. Now you'll see the camera will probably do a little sort of calibration dance as well as it powers up. And it comes round. There we go. Now it takes a few moments for it to connect to the model, because the transmitter uses wireless technology to connect to the model purely for the video transmission system. So it's the same as like the Phantom Vision Plus that uses Wi-Fi as well. So that once you've got connection, you'll see that on the front of the model, the camera's now got a green LED. Now if it get a yellow LED, that basically means you've forgotten to put the SD card in, and although you'll get video transmission, you won't be able to record. So once you get that, and you'll also notice on the controller that the light on the transmitter has now got, on the Wi-Fi logo, is now got a solid blue as well. Now, you get one of these cards with the model. Now, what this is your status card. It tells you what all the LED lights do. Now, on the Typhoon, that is your LED indicator at the back. This one here, this is the status LED. So you see at the moment now we're getting 3 green flashes and then a pause. What that means is I've got the controller in smart mode, but as we haven't got a GPS connection, we won't get the GPS stability program. So that actually needs to be a solid green light to give us full GPS capability. So just now, as I say, it should be giving it us, but it's not, because we're not in the correct mode. And you basically have a different color LED for each scenario, and it's explained on the card, so it's probably worth just even maybe laminating this card, or certainly taking it with you, because it not only covers all the light indications, it also covers the compass calibration, which is very important. The compass is calibrated properly before you fly. Now it's important you calibrate your compass before you fly for the first time. So I'm going to go through the compass calibration, but it's important you do this outdoors, not indoors, and it must be in an open area away from any electromagnetic interference. So the first thing you need to do is you need to actually figure out what way north is. So if you've got like a smartphone with a compass app, then get that up and then figure out your north. So in my case, the north is actually facing that way. So it's important we start the compass calibration with the model facing north. Now the first thing we need to do to get it into compass calibration, the little side lever on the side here, which is actually the well, I'll come back to that later. It's actually the like ferocity control for the controls. So we move that all the way to the forward, and then what we do is we hold the stick all the way to the side and we toggle this 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll hear that rapid beep, and that's it now in compass calibration. Now the model comes with a calibration card, so it's worth having that with you so you know exactly what to do. So the first thing we need to do is we need to rotate the model, so pointing north, and we rotate 360 degrees. Then we move the model 45 degrees and we rotate the model again. Then we rotate again another 45 degrees and we rotate the model again. And then we rotate once more 45 degrees and rotate again. Now you hear the beeping there, and that basically means that we've calibrated successfully. And you hear the last one there. And this should be, ideally this should be completed within 30 seconds, and then you'll be good to go. And you see we've got the flashing status LED on the back there is going back to what it was before, which in our case, because there's no GPS, is 3 green flashing lights and then a pause. And that's how you calibrate the compass. We're now going to install the props. Now it's important that you realise that the props are not all the same. There's 2 propellers go one way and 2 propellers go the other. Now the props are actually identified with letters. So for example, we have 2 motors with A and 2 motors with B. And they work diagonally. So this is an A motor, that's an A motor, this is a B motor, and this is a B motor. Now the propellers are marked in the same way, so you have a propeller and you have a B propeller. Now the differences are, if you look on the ends of them, you'll notice one blade slopes up one way and the other blade slopes up the other. Now they're self-tightening props, so you can't actually get them on the wrong prop, but it's worth just getting a little system worked out so you know you're getting the right one in the right place. So for example, this is a A and this is a A. So basically we just put that down there and then we spin it down. There's an arrow on there telling you with little padlocks. So for example, the lock means tightening down and locking. So it's worth just spinning the propeller down till it stops. Now, included in the kit, there is a prop tightening tool, and this is just a tool that allows you to grip the motor. So you can feed that round like that. That grips onto the motor, and then you can just, don't go mad with this, but it just allows you to, just move that round, it just allows you to nick that up. There's a rubber grommet under the top of the motor as well, and that's it sufficiently tightened. I'm now going to cover the features of the controller and the actual application and screen in the controller. Now there's a warning sticker on the front. It's kind of fairly straightforward, just a warning that when you remove the sticker you're accepting the fact that you do accept responsibility for the correct use of your camera multi-rotor. So it's basically telling you not to fly near people, buildings, etc. So you can just basically take that cellophane off. Now to get the full feature we'll need to switch on. So as always, as I said before, you must switch the transmitter on first and then the actual model. So if we just turn the controller on, let that boot up, and then we can turn the model on. Now I've removed the props from the model. You should never have the propellers on the model if you're turning it on indoors. So very important there, always remove your propellers. Okay, so now I'm going to cover the actual application itself. This is like what would be the app if you had, say for example, on a Phantom Vision. So I'm going to just cover the basics of the telemetry first of all. So the first thing we have at the moment is what mode we're in. Now we're all basically ready to fly because the model's turned on. We have GPS ready. Below that you've got satellites. This is the amount of satellites the model is locked into. It's got its actual GPS coordinates there at the bottom. Then over here we've got the volts. Now I'm getting a warning just because I'm actually indoors and it's not really picking up a very good GPS lock. So here we've got the volts of the actual model. Because we're getting a very poor GPS, it thinks it's actually at 12 feet, which it's not. Again, ground speed and actual distance there. So again, it is not actually 225 feet away from me, it's actually right next to me. So we have that, and then of course you have your basic stuff across the top, like the time. That is actually the amount of satellites that the controller has, because there's GPS in the controller as well, and we have the saying the Wi-Fi is on and connected, and of course the battery level of the actual controller. So down here we actually have settings as well. So we've got our system settings. It's just telling you there it's disconnecting from the model. So for example, these are the controls. So for example there, you've got the time the controller's actually been on, 45% and discharging. And then you've got things like the modes. This is basically the demand on the battery. So the actual app has got the Android app has actually got the most discharge there at 47%, and then basically you're just working down, kind of like you've got on some smartphones. It'll tell you exactly what's the biggest load on the actual model. Now across the bottom here, you've also got your hotkeys as well, so we can just back up. We've got language settings, pretty obvious. Going back one, we've got factory reset, setting time and date, and also about flight control modes as well, so it's telling you everything about the actual model itself in there. You've got an update for updating the controller, and you've also got updates for updating the model as well, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go back, and then you have flight settings. Of our flight settings, just telling you disconnecting from the model again. So you've got binding, that's for actually binding the controller itself to the model. You've got camera select. Now obviously there's really only one camera, but I dare say they're going to bring out other cameras, and then you'll be able to select different types. Then we've got mode select. What this is the flight mode. Basically this is what means, for example, the most common flight mode is mode 2. So we have our throttle on the left side. I should show you here. We have the throttle actually on the left, and then you have your turning on that same stick, and then this is your flying mode. So you've got forward, backwards, banking left and banking right. But in other countries sometimes you do have other flight modes, but if you're not sure, best just leave it to mode 2, because that is the most common one. Go back, we've got hardware monitor there, so that is basically showing you everything on the actual model. So if you move any of your switches and sticks, this will actually show you all the movement here. Possibly maybe at a later date they'll allow you to actually set up custom keys and change what things do. So for example, if you wanted a function switch on a different switch to what it comes with, you'd be able to change it. So that may become in a future update. And we can just go back. And we've also got model select as well. So what this will be for example, if you've got more than one model. Now obviously there is only the Q500, so that's the one that's on the display, but I dare say at a later date you can have other multi-rotors but retaining the same transmitter and buying it in what's called as a bind and fly mode, where you just get the model itself. So we can go back in there. So that kind of covers the basics of the actual application itself. Right, I'm going to actually cover the actual functions of the controller itself. So we have our main function controls here. So now this is in mode 2, so it's quite simple. That's your throttle, so that would make the model rise up and basically come down. Then we have our yaw or turn, where you've obviously got turning left and right here, so that will yaw the model. And then over here you've got your flight control stick, so pushing away will make the model fly away, and then pulling the stick back, make the model fly back. And there, left and right, will actually bank the model from left to right. Now, moving up, we've got our start-stop button there. So that's for actually activating the motors. I'll show you in a second actually how you actually do that. This is our flight mode control switch here. So the model has 2 flying modes. So it's got smart mode, and we have angle mode, and then we have home mode, which is basically a return to home, so the model would fly back to its takeoff point. Now the model sets its takeoff point actually when you actually power the motors up for the first time. When it's sitting on the ground, it will set its home location. Now moving to the top of the controller, you've got 2 buttons up here. You've got, just switch it around, so we've got a camera button, so push that one, model will take a picture, and push that one and it will start video, and push it again and it will stop video. Then moving on to the sides, we've got a control on here. Now this is the actual gimbal tilt lever, so that will actually tilt the gimbal up and down. Now the way it works is in the center that would be pointing sort of 45 degrees down, and then that would be looking straight ahead, and that would be looking down. And then we flip on the other side, Here we've got the, this is like the ferocity control. So they've marked it with having it as a sort of rabbit in a tortoise, which is the best way to explain it. So the way it would work is, on tortoise mode, which is the mode they sort of recommend you starting on, the model will be very slow reacting. So when you bash your sticks around here, the model will react very slowly. So that's good for beginners or if you're doing aerial photography. And then as you move up into the rabbit mode, it becomes very responsive. So if you're just wanting to have some fun and fly it around, any sort of movement here on the stick, the model will react very fast to it. And that covers the main control features, or the main control features of the ST10 controller. Now we have 3 flight modes to choose from when flying. Now the instructions suggest you actually start in smart mode, but I would actually suggest you start in angle mode, which is the center position on the flight mode. And this basically means it's going to fly like a conventional RC model, or as though you were actually sitting in it. So the way it would work, and show you on this little multi-rotor here, is, now this is obviously the throttle, so this makes the model go up and down, and that would turn the yaw, and you would have banking left and right and pulling back and forward. So the model will the controls will work relative to the model's direction. So model pointing forward towards me, it would work like tilting the model forward, it would fly forward. Now the smart mode the Yuneec has is, in smart mode, what you have is it takes away the nose direction of the aircraft. So the way it will work is, regardless of what way round the model is, forward will still be forward and back will still be back. So this is kind of like the intelligent orientation control you get on DJI models. So regardless what way round it is, it's no longer what the model's forward is, it's the transmitter's forward is. So that will be going that way, that will be going that way, that will go that way, and that will go that way. And it works from a center point. So it works from basically the transmitter being a center point and the model. So regardless if you push, so if you're standing here and the model is here, pushing the stick away from you, the model will move away from you, and pulling the stick back, the model will bring you back. So quite handy if you've got quite far away from yourself and you don't know what way around the model is and you just want to bring it home by pulling the control stick back. You just simply into smart mode, pull the stick back, and regardless of where it is in your relation, that is where it would come back. So if it was there, it will come this way. If it's there, it will come this way, regardless of what way around the actual model is. And then the last one is home, which is simply like fail-safe, return to home. So regardless wherever the model is, the model will rise up to a safe height, fly home, and then come down on the home location, which is set when the model gets powered up for the first time. So that's kind of like your basic flight modes. As I say, they recommend starting in smart mode, but actually I would actually start in angle mode and get used to flying the model properly. But it's certainly worth trial and error and just working out what works for you. Okay, now to actually arm and start your motors, it's quite a simple procedure. You just pull the control stick across to the side and push and hold the start button, and that's now the motors running. Now to turn off the motors, you just simply actually have to push that button and the motors will shut down. Well, I hope you found that instructional video on how to get your new Yuneec Q500 up and running helpful. You can check out my YouTube channel for many more other helpful videos and how-to guides on various multi-rotor products. I'm Rick from Marionville Models, RC specialist for over 40 years. Thank you.